Chef, welcome to Colorado Food Magazine. We're here at your shop, Bruto, here at located downtown Denver. So look it up online.
Yes.
It's here. Go ahead and give us the address.
1801 Blake Street.
Yeah,
in the heart of downtown
1801
Denver.
Blake Street. Yeah, it really is in the heart of downtown Denver. It's a great space. It's a great venue. We ate here last week. What an experience.
Thank you.
So I got to be full transparency. We did come here.
Yes.
You told us about you wanted us to experience at the Hispanic Restaurant Association what you were doing. And it was simply an amazing experience. So we'll start there. But before there's a lot of things we want to cover during this. I want to cover up, why you got started with Bruto, where you grew up, what inspired you, what, if in a perfect world, what would you do to change the restaurant industry?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're trying to do with our platforms. And what does the future look like? So let's start there. Where'd you grow up?
I'm born and raised in El Paso, Texas, so it's going to be in a border town with Juárez, Chihuahua. Both of my parents are immigrants. I'm a first-generation Mexican-American that then moved to Denver, Colorado, actually. So most of my formidable years were spent in Denver. And then I just been going back and forth between El Paso and Denver for the last, I'm not going to say how old I am, but over 30 years.
I always avoid that question too. I get it. So what inspired you? Because I was amazed, blown away by the experience. We talk about educate and elevate. We have the Latin Supper Club that we're trying to use as a platform. And obviously, you're doing something extremely right here. So I want to talk also about leadership, what you think is important in leadership and developing standard operating procedures, which we talked about. And then, when we briefly talked on Friday, I was always talking about if you don't like the rules of the game, change the rules. Yeah. And that's what we're doing at the Hispanic Restaurant Association. And with guys like you joining us and your talents, your creativity, your expertise, and your leadership, we think we can do that. We can make a dent in that. So you grew up in El Paso, came to Denver. How old were you?
We moved here when I was approximately 5 years old. My parents moved here, and we spent a good 12 years here. So, elementary, middle school, and first couple of years of high school, I believe, or first year of high school, and then we moved back to El Paso.
And then you spent a few years there. Then you came back to Denver. How long you been back in Denver?
I just came back a little under 3 years ago. I actually arrived here 5 or 6 months right before the pandemic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And so tell us. Obviously that smacked everybody in the head and the teeth and kicking the you know what.
Yeah.
So what was the toughest for you during that?
So my wife and I made the decision to leave El Paso, start fresh in Denver. I needed a bigger city. Obviously, as a chef, I wanted to get paid more, and we made the decision to arrive in Denver. We came and saw it. She loved it. I grew up here. I love Denver. It's my second home, or my first home. And we made the decision to move here 4 or 5 months before the pandemic. One of my really good friends was an executive chef of a restaurant here, offered me a job as a sous chef. Started working there. And then March of 2020, I get furloughed.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's so what went through your head during that time frame, other than panic like the much of the world? How did you navigate that? What was the biggest challenge? What was the best part of it? Because through stress and through suffering and through all these different things, we always find out who we are.
Yeah. And it's exactly what happened. The first few months were very frustrating, very saddening. Just like everybody, I think I probably drank a whole lot to drown my sorrows. I for sure thought that I was done cooking. I thought restaurants will never be the same. Not only that, but I was new to the culinary scene in Denver. I've lived here before, but I've never cooked here before. I didn't have any connections. I didn't have any mentors or anybody who can really give me a chance. So I thought I was done cooking, and it was a big hit to my ego because I identified myself as a chef, as a cook. That was my identity as a person, right? And nothing else would fill that void. So the second that after many long nights and many drunken nights, and talking to my wife, she asked me the question of, why do you cook? Do you do it for fame? Do you do it for Like, do you do it because you want to look cool, or do you do it because you just love to cook? And that's when it like really resonated. And I say, I cook because I like to see people smile when I feed them. And I started to do these little supper clubs in my backyard, and I would invite friends and family and cook for them, and that fire just started up again. And that kind of was the way that I kind of got back into the industry, during the pandemic.
Well, I often find that, I always say this, if you listen to some of the podcasts, I always find that the chef is the commander or the general of the kitchen. They're the orchestra, the conductor.
Yep.
And they're also the creator of the artist side of that. So those three are in each personality.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to cook?
The inspiration from cooking comes from a young age. Seeing my mom and my aunts and my grandmas cooking, and the power of food and what food can do to create community and create family and create people to come to a table and enjoy a meal together. That was always powerful to me. It was always something that was very inspiring to see. And I was never really interested in anything else but food from a very young age. And when I got the opportunity to do it professionally, I took it full on and I just ran with it.
So where did you go to a specific school that you enjoyed? Was it through the restaurant community? How did you learn your craft?
In my early 20s, mid 20s, I made the decision to attend culinary school in El Paso, Texas. I graduated from El Paso Community College with my associates in culinary arts. And then I just went full on into the industry. I started as a dishwasher prep.
Really?
Yeah, small kitchen, dishwasher prep. Couldn't cut a tomato to save my life. I almost got fired 3 times for my first job because I was so bad at it, and I was so crushed. Like my whole life, I thought that this is what I was gonna do, but when I finally got there, I was so bad at it, and these chefs were yelling at me and telling me how bad I was, and every day I would go home defeated, but the next day I was just like, something in me says you have to keep going, and I would go back and I would go back.
So how did you correct those? You said you were bad at cutting tomatoes. You almost got fired 3 times.
Yeah.
How did you learn to correct those? Was it something you did and you just learned that you'd go online or books, or did you have somebody that mentored you?
I've had mentors throughout my career. I never had like one person that just like really took me under their belt and like I was their apprentice for years like a lot of these other guys are. My whole thing was learn from your mistakes. If you made the mistake yesterday, don't make the same mistake the next day. And that was my motto. Don't make the same mistake twice. Don't make the same mistake twice. And learn, ask questions, read a book, go online. And that was it.
So you have this internal mechanism that drives to learn, be better. Mm-hmm. And obviously you're doing something very right. But it's just like I said, the service, the attention to detail here was just beyond amazing. I mean, it really was a great experience.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about leadership. We talked about a little bit growing up, who inspired you. Did you have any, you said you didn't have any mentors. What do you consider a good leader? Because that's part of what we're trying to achieve here at the HRA and the Hispanic Chefs Association is just develop these little pockets of leadership, because then it extends out from there. Then you can just teach that many more. Instead of us having to do everything, we have the tools, the correct leaders, the right leaders, and we have this 5 pillars Renaissance model that we use. It's leadership, education, teamwork, relationship building, which results in a cultural ethos, which is what goes on. Do people love coming to work? Do they want to come to work? And are you making them better? So what would you consider a good leader?
I mean, you kind of hit, those 5 pillars is kind of what we do here at Bruto. My leadership skills come from learning from other people's mistakes, right? When I was a cook or I was under somebody else's belt, I took the good with the good and the bad with the bad, and I learned from these people, and I applied it to my own kitchen now, and the biggest thing about being a leader is, you lead by example, right? There's a difference between a boss and a leader, right? A boss tells you what to do, a leader shows you what to do.
It makes you better.
Makes you better. Makes you want to learn. Makes you want to come back. I've especially after the pandemic, I said I don't want to be those kitchens that are going back to the old ways. Like, let's change the mentality. Let's change
the culture.
The culture, right? A lot of these younger chefs that are coming into the business, they're Gen Zs, and they're not going to respond the same way that I did when I got yelled at, or when you did, growing up in the military. You need to adapt to the new way of things, but still run a very profitable and successful business,
and have standards of excellence.
100%.
And the same thing in the military. That we always in the training commands. I'll just say this: there are always harshness involved because you had to develop a lot of mental toughness. But also the military was just not always just these command and control yelling. There were so many great mentors for me. There were so many like took an interest in me, developed me, and gave me the right tools. I mean, it was men much greater than me that taught me how to be a good leader. And so, if you, in a perfect world, what would you change in the restaurant industry to make it better? We talk about culture.
Yeah, culture. So here at Bruto, I've started to develop my own culture in kitchens, starting by, and this comes from just the culture that we're trying to develop in the restaurant group that Bruto is a part of, and it's not only our restaurant but the restaurants that we are trying to form.
What are those restaurants?
So it's Wolf's Taylor, Bruto, Basta, and then our flour mill, which is dry storage, and we are a part of IE Hospitality. So we are different concepts with different food and different backgrounds, but at the end of the day we're trying to develop this culture of like we are post-COVID. And in order for us to have longevity in this business, we need to make the changes that are going to, like you said, have people that want to come to work, that enjoy coming to work, that take pride in their work, and set the standard and set the excellence of what this new wave of restaurants needs to look
serving
like.
others first.
Yes,
before you.
absolutely.
And developing. Do you have like standard operating procedures at your restaurants?
Yeah, for everything,
Why is that important?
Standard operating procedures are just, this is the guideline of what we need to do, and it minimizes mistakes, and it works for a reason, right? Like, I mean, we're not the only ones using SOPs. Like, I mean, NASA
right.
uses those. The military,
exactly.
like,
Everybody does. Yes,
yeah.
But that's also one of the things I think missing in the Latin Hispanic community. You go to these smaller restaurants, independent restaurants, they don't have these, and so they can't figure out why. Either they're struggling with cost controls or why they don't understand where their money is going.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of our goal, and where we're going to open up a restaurant training series. Yep. For the community to help in all those endeavors.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of these mom and pop shops are Hispanic owned restaurants, with people like my family, first immigrants that don't speak the language, that don't understand that what is happening in the restaurant. Like, those are tools that they can use, like you said, like doing a restaurant training, that can benefit from learning how to do food costs and learning how to retain customers and et cetera, et cetera. I can go down the list.
Yeah, we have a whole list of things we need to cover. And I mean, we're still such a young organization.
Yeah.
But we have a 5-year plan. Part of that is developing those standards for everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
What, in a perfect world, what would you want? We talked about standards. We talked about the Michelin star. What does that mean? Because I've done some research. Obviously, I was aware of it beforehand. So what would it take for Denver to become a destination for something like that? Because I've talked to Chef Manny, Chef Zuri, Chef Pablo. They have said similar things. Like, we want to make Denver in Colorado the mecca of Mexican food or Latin food. Mm-hmm. So once again, back to that perfect world, can we achieve that?
I mean, like you said, I think there's a lot of very talented Hispanic chefs here in the city that can definitely achieve that. But I think that what we're missing is the Michelin has to, if we are trying to achieve the Michelin, it has to be a destination, right? It has to be somewhere where there's several restaurants, not just one. Several restaurants that are really taking ownership of this standard, right? Of not only food, hospitality, your restaurant, the way that you handle yourself, the way you handle your guests, professionalism, and just consistency, and just trying to operate at the highest standard that you can. But it's not going to just be one person. It has to be a collective of people that think the same way, that are going to not only starts with their restaurant, but then it starts to inspire other people to do the same thing.
Educate and elevate.
Yes.
That's part of our vision statement is to educate and elevate the Hispanic community across a multi-generational spectrum.
Yep.
And that's part of our goal, is just to have these higher standards so people recognize Hispanics and Latin people are already known for their hard work.
Yeah.
Let's just use the tools to educate and make everybody better. Mm-hmm. And if we put that energy into that. There's one of the things I really noticed. I mean, I'm going to talk about sourcing of your ingredients. Yeah. That's pretty cool. But I noticed when I was here, everybody had a specific spot, how they stood, how they conducted themselves. That's part of that experience that we did. It simply was amazing. I can't emphasize that enough. And I'm not saying it just because I'm here in front of you, but it's just one of those things like, oh, this is really good. And now I want to tell the world. I mean, there's quite a few other restaurants I've eaten at. I've realized we need to do a better job at the Colorado Food Magazine of highlighting the excellence instead of just talking about leadership.
Yeah.
And that's why we've kind of, with the Alan, kind of talking like we need to turn it a little bit and give you guys a better platform and talk about that standard of excellence. Yeah. In a perfect world, what would you change from a platform? Put yourself in our shoes, the Hispanic Restaurant Association, the Chefs Association, our leadership, what we're developing. What would you want as a leader in the community if you're put in that position?
Yeah, I mean, as a leader in the community, I just want to highlight the work that we're doing, and more than anything, I think a lot of people are not afraid, but they're afraid of what they don't understand. So that's why I asked you to come in and experience what we're doing, so you can see firsthand of how we're operating and what we're doing. And as a leader in the community and with my chefs and everything that we're doing, I just want to highlight our work through the level of professionalism that we hold ourselves to the level of excellence, to sourcing, to guest experience, to beverage and food and everything. So it's just about highlighting the work that we're doing.
How did you? Let's talk about that bread and the sourcing and the grain. Talk about that.
So the bread is dry storage. So Kelly Whitaker and Erica Whitaker, who are my friends and mentors and business partners, and own Bruto and Dry Storage, Wolf Taylor, and also Basta. Kelly started with this idea of having this regenerative organic wheat that is Colorado grown. That's good for you, that's good for the planet, that's gonna make you feel great. So all the wheat berries are grown in the St. Louis Valley, which is 3.5 hours away. We are working with several farmers to develop this regenerative way of growing wheat berries, right? Where it's good for the land, but not only that, the flour itself is very high in protein and less in gluten. We are taking away a lot of the commercial milling processes that a lot of the big brands are doing. So what you're getting at the end of the day is just really good wheat that is grown locally, and then we bring it here, and then we make it right in front of you in the oven.
Oh, I did say that was impressive. Now, is this grain available to the general public or to the wholesales? How would they?
Drystorage.com. You can buy it there. It gets shipped to your house. Or we also have a bakehouse in Boulder, off of Arapahoe Road, where we showcase a lot of the things that you can do with the flour, starting with French baguettes, croissants, cookies, etc., etc. We have so much to offer.
We'll have to pay a visit to there.
Yeah, definitely.
Road trip, Alan. That's great. What other things would you want to change or want to see? Because once again, our goal is to give you a platform.
Yeah. For me, the culture in restaurants has always been so toxic, and a lot of and this is including myself. I grew up in this very toxic, masculine, machismo kitchens, right? Where if you're not abusing substances, or if you're not talking to each other with derogatory words, like you're not part of the brigade, right? It's not that. We're not living in the 1980s anymore. Like, this is a new age of things. Like, the way that I want to construct my kitchen is we treat each other with respect. We all We all say yes, chef, no, chef, thank you, chef, please, chef.
You have protocols. Behavioral protocols.
We're in a professional environment. Not only that, we are completely open kitchen.
Yes.
So the way that you handle yourself, not only inside of the kitchen but outside of the kitchen, that reflects on your work. So I think that it's super important that we understand that respect in the kitchen is something that hasn't been there in a long time, and I want to bring that back. You know, I want to make sure that these guys are treating each other with respect. Like, they're not talking. Can we cuss on?
Yeah, of course.
That they're not talking shit to each other. That, you know, that they hold each other accountable and themselves.
Do you have a leadership program, or is it more leadership by example?
It's leadership by example. It's I call it the Bruto school.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
I call it Bruto culinary is what it's called. Yeah, it's everything that I learned that is great, and all the things that I don't want in kitchens, I throw it away. I've been in the industry now for 10 years professionally, and I've had a lot of great mentors and a lot of not so great mentors. And I took the good with the good, and I threw the bad away.
Let's name a couple of good mentors, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the two of the people that really honed me. You know, obviously Kelly Whitaker, who is now my business partner and chef, and you know, he really taught me to believe in myself, to believe in the story that I'm telling, how to source. And I just learned from him a lot as a restaurateur and as a leader, you know, and he keeps teaching me things every day. We're on the phone a lot of the time, and he's really just let me take ownership of Bruto, and, you know, just guides me and tells me the things that he did right and the things that he doesn't. And then there's Oscar Herrera, one of the first people that gave me an opportunity to run a restaurant. He's in Ciudad Juarez and El Paso, and you know, I was very inexperienced. I wasn't ready to take on a hotel restaurant with 20 employees. And
what did he see in you?
I guess you would have to ask him, but
probably the raw material.
I think that there was this rawness of me that I just was so hungry to succeed, and obviously he knew I can cook, you know. But with being a chef, there's so much more than just being able to sear a good piece of fish or putting a plate together. Nowadays, in order for you to be a chef, like we mentioned it before, you have to be a leader, you have to be a conductor, you have to be an artist, you have to know how to speak to people, you know how to source, how to treat your farmers right, how to pay them livable wages, change the culture in the kitchen. There's so much.
You had mentioned also all the way to hospitality earlier.
Yeah. What
is hospitality in your words?
Hospitality is being hospitable, being able to meet people's needs without them even knowing that's what they want, right? One of the greatest things here at Bruto is the fact that I see it as like, you're coming into my home, right? So, for example, when you invite people or guests into your home, you clean your home, you make it look really nice, make sure it smells great, make sure that the food is awesome, you know, you greet them, can I get you something? You want some soda water? Can I get you some tequila? That is hospitality to me. That is me being hospitable to you, making sure that you feel comfortable in my home.
Right. Yeah, you've done a great job at that. Yeah. All the way from when I first walked up, people, I can't remember his name, I think it's Alex. Mm-hmm. He greeted me. It was great. Just, once again, a great experience. You also had an internship. I mean, I specifically mentioned it on the phone. An intern from Wyoming?
Yeah.
How did she find out about you, and what are you teaching her?
So she reached out to me via email. She's a chef in Wyoming, in Jackson Hole, and you know, through just the network of chefs, she found out that there was another Mexican chef really elevating the food here in Denver. And when she arrived, she told me, she's like, I'm sad to say that I haven't really connected with my roots in a very long time, and I didn't know that Mexican food or food cooked by a first-generation Mexican-American can look this way, at this level. And she was just intrigued by the fact that we were doing that here. And she took a week out of her schedule to come in and stage with us. A stage is meaning that you work in a kitchen for knowledge or to learn.
Right.
Yeah, and she was here for just under a week, and dove right in and took, like I said, she'll take all the good things from this kitchen and apply it into her own, and the bad ones she'll just hopefully forget about them.
Right. Well, that's part of also our plan to develop a leadership program, executive chef leadership program. We kind of have it mostly formed out. We just want to make sure all the details are there that meet the industry needs, meet the person going through these. So that way they have a long-term outlook. They have a North Star. So that's just it's such a cool thing that you're already thinking that, and already not only thinking but doing it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. So if you could have a standards committee, what would you do there? What would be your top 3 priorities?
Top 3 priorities would be culture, SOPs or standard of excellence, and hospitality.
Really? Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So, wow. So there's so many things here. I mean, what's your favorite restaurant besides here that you would want to eat at? I know that's it's like picking your favorite child. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
But chefs know their craft obviously very well. Where would you send somebody?
Here in the city, right?
Yes.
In Denver. I'll name a couple because I can't just pick one.
Right. No. I give you 3 if you want to name 5.
Awesome.
But that's but there's different levels. There's fine dining. There's fast casual. There's the great magnificent taco truck. I recognize all those, but I'm just
so for me, like on a day off, I'm always I like to go to Tio Cali Cocina. It's run by
yes, we've eaten. I ate there a few weeks ago.
Julio Gaspar is I think is a really great chef who cooks very just good food, and it's consistent. And every time I go, I am just content. I'm happy with
I agree, and his presentation is magnificent.
It's great. So, and not only that, but I live 5 blocks from the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it super easy for me to be there.
Yeah, we tried to get him on a couple of but it was just schedules couldn't match up. So
he's a great chef, great cook, and just cooking really good food, and I appreciate that, Another restaurant that I really enjoy is Somebody's People. They're doing vegan food, which a lot of people don't think like vegan food doesn't taste good, but these guys they're doing such a good job.
Really?
Of, like cooking just good vegan food. Hospitality's great.
What was the name of it?
Somebody People.
Where are they at?
On Broadway. I don't know the exact
I'll have to write it down.
Yeah. Great food. Very, very tasty food. Like
really?
It's just good food. Yeah, and it's all vegan. It's good for you. They're also using our grains. So,
are they?
Yep.
Okay. I'll have to check them out. Put them on the list to get them
Absolutely.
on the podcast.
And then my last one, I guess, it would be for Asian food, Hop Alley. They're in Rhino. I think it's Chinese Cantonese food, like just really good food too. Just good hospitality, good drinks.
What do you look for? Is it the texture, flavor, all of the above? I'm sure.
Yeah.
When you like these, what made you select these 3 places? Just through learning about them?
I mean, like I said earlier, good food, good hospitality, good beverage. Every time I leave these places, I get all 3 of them.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I'm just like...
So you have an excellence. They personify excellence also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, and then of course here, I mean, I'll tell the audience again, you need to come here.
Yeah.
It's an amazing experience. Not only just the food, the creativity, but just the experience.
Yep.
I mean, I remember Alex and then the guy that was doing the drinks. And I'm going to have to learn more about it because I'm learning a lot, obviously, about how to pair things. Where do you learn that? Where'd you learn that?
I think that just comes with experience. I think that the longer that you're in the industry and the longer that you eat out, and also like I was telling Selena before, that sazon, like you just grow up with the sazon.
Yeah.
You just grow up knowing what good food tastes like, and then the pairing just comes with time. As you experience things, you start to understand what makes sense on the palate and what it needs, right? So I can taste a dish and say, well, this dish is kind of spicy, so we need to pair it with something that's going to cut through a lot of that spice, right? So then that's when you do, a beverage that's going to kind of like compose the whole thing in your mouth. now it comes back to umami, right? Umami is hitting all of the five senses in your mouth.
Right. That's one thing I've really learned. Just I call it the ebb and flow, or the roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Effect of that. Well, that's great. What else do you want to tell us about Bruto and your vision? What does the future look like?
So, like we mentioned, Bruto's an 18-seat chef counter that's operated and manned by the chefs, and everything that comes out of the kitchen comes out of this hearth oven that's wood-fired. Work a lot with grains, sustainable farmers, local agriculture, local ingredients, and then putting our own twist to it. When people ask me, well, what kind of food do you cook? I say I cook Bruto food. Bruto food it's raw, it's crude, it's wild. Obviously, a lot of the foundation is going to come from my childhood and obviously my heritage, with the chilies that we use and the corn and the grain.
Let's talk about those chilies. I did forget that. You showed them to me. They're up there on the ceiling. Let's talk about where do you get those?
So those are sourced. Right now our encyclopedia carries 32 different kinds of dried chilies. 20 of them are going to be from different regions in Mexico, and other 12 are actually locally sourced in local farms here in the state. Some of them are from Boulder, and then some of them are from different people here in the city.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
So you really are from the management, leadership, and from the sourcing. You really are helping the community.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that when I arrived here, I did before, but I didn't do it as much as I used to now. And that's a lot of the stuff that Kelly taught me, right? It's like support local agriculture, support local farmers, like make sure that you're feeding the community with things that come from the community, right? If it grows here, it's going to taste better because it's not going to travel on a truck for 500 miles, right? Etc. So, and we have so many good farms here that you can work with that people just don't have access to or they don't know.
Yes, and I did want to talk to you. Give me some of those. We'd love to go out there and just talk to them.
Yeah,
tell their story so the restaurateurs can hear about them.
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of farms, mainly. I work with a local bison rancher. His name's Rex. He runs a company called Rock River Ranch. 3 hours from Denver. His herd is out there. He matures it here, and then you have great fresh bison for the restaurant. I work a lot with a lot of farms in Boulder. Esoterra. Esoterra is a culinary-driven farm that is growing really fun garnishes and vegetables. And
what was the name of that one?
Esoterra.
Okay.
Mark is our farmer there. Oxford Farms, Masa Foundation. That's where I get my chilies. And then there's a couple in Fort Collins. But yeah, I mean, just the list can go on. I have them all written down. But
yeah. I mean, because we want to interview those.
For sure.
We're the only organization that we're aware of that can connect all the way, go to the farmer, all the way to the consumer. Yeah. And interview it, tell the story behind it. That's one of our goals. So we're going to wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to cover? What would you have for us? What do you have for us?
I mean, I'm just happy to have a space where I can still create and provide hospitality and do what I love to do. And Bruto has given me that and a lot more. And I hope to take it to its wildest dreams. And I hope that the people that come through these doors, whether you're a guest or you're a chef or a bartender, or that you feel that you left here inspired to do more and be more than what you thought you could be. And that's the Bruto culinary mentality that we have here.
Oh, I really like that. So is there anything we can do differently to help chefs like you?
I mean, I think you guys are already taking the time of day and taking the initiative to come here and learn and experience and pass it on and tell people. I think this restaurant itself is a small restaurant that we're only supported by social media and word of mouth. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's it. We used to Kelly used to tell me, he said, "Chef, the power of 10." He goes, if you impress 10 people, they'll tell 10 people, and those 10 people will tell 10 people. And that's it. That's how we've grown the business.
Well, you've certainly elevated the game, and I appreciate you taking the time for us.
No, I appreciate you guys
and your skill set and creativity and leadership. So
I really appreciate it.
Like I said, I just invited you now to be part of the Hispanic Chefs Association.
Yes.
And there's some other things we have in the works that I'll talk offline about. But
absolutely,
you'll hear in the next coming weeks and months
about
that. So thank you so much.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.